Everyone talks about the usual jobs on the Australia occupation list. Nurses, teachers, engineers, IT professionals. Sure, they're important, but today, let's flip the script. What if we looked at the list not just for what's obvious, but for what's coming up quietly in the background? The jobs you don't hear much about. The ones that might just sneak into the list while everyone else is distracted by healthcare headlines. Because here's the truth. The occupation list isn't just about plugging gaps. It's also about predicting what Australia will need in 5, 10, even 20 years. And sometimes that's not the obvious stuff. Why the list will never be static. Here's the first prediction. The list will never stop changing. If you're expecting a stable list that will remain the same for 5 years straight, you might as well expect kangaroos to start driving Ubers. The Australian economy is too dynamic. Technology keeps changing, industries rise and fall, and global events, like pandemics, throw everything off balance. Remember when chefs were everywhere on the list? Then suddenly they weren't as urgent, and then they came back again. It's like reality TV. You never know who's getting eliminated or brought back for special guest status. Food security and agriculture science. The first prediction and an overlooked sector is food. Yes, farming has always been there in the background, but the future isn't just about planting crops. It's about agricultural science. Australia will need food, technologists, crop scientists, and soil specialists to deal with climate change, drought, and global demand. This isn't the old-school farmer with a straw hat image. We're talking about highly skilled professionals who use drones to monitor crops, data to predict yields, and science to improve food quality. Food security is becoming a national priority, and occupations linked to it will sneak up the list faster than you'd expect. Social services beyond healthcare. We all know nurses and doctors are secure on the list, but what about the softer social jobs? Australia's aging population and diverse communities mean there's growing demand for social workers, counsellors, youth workers, and disability service managers. These aren't always highlighted in immigration news, but they're just as critical. With rising focus on mental health and well-being, don't be surprised if jobs like mental health, social workers, rehabilitation counselors, or child protection specialists get stronger recognition in the coming years. The rise of cyber law and tech regulation jobs. Tech isn't just about coding anymore. As AI, data privacy, and cybersecurity grow, so does the need for people who can regulate, legislate, and manage the risks. That's where tech law hybrids come in. Imagine occupations like compliance officers in cybersecurity, data ethics specialists, or digital policy advisors creeping onto the list. Australia isn't just filling jobs, it's future-proofing industries. And as tech gets more complicated, roles that combine law, regulation, and technology will get more weight. Renewable energy tradespeople. We often hear about engineers in renewable energy, but let's go practical. The clean energy revolution won't just need scientists. It'll need tradespeople, solar panel installers, wind turbine technicians, and energy system electricians are going to become stars of the regional and national lists. These are jobs you can't outsource overseas, and they require hands-on skill. As Australia sets ambitious targets for renewable energy, expect these occupations to stop being nice to have and start being must recruit now. Niche health professions. Sure, we know about general nurses and doctors, but what about the niche areas? Occupational therapists, speech pathologists, audiologists, and dietitians are quietly growing in demand. Because as healthcare gets more specialized, Australia needs more than just general practitioners. Take speech therapy. With more focus on disability services and child development, speech pathologists are becoming increasingly crucial. Or audiologists, because hearing loss is more common in aging populations. These might sound like small roles compared to surgeons, but they fill critical gaps that Australia can't ignore. Environmental and climate science. Climate change isn't going away. Environmental scientists, Conservation specialists, water resource managers, and ecologists will get more weight. These aren't optional anymore. They're directly tied to policy, agriculture, and even city planning. Expect more eco-focused occupations to find a home on the list, especially as Australia balances development with environmental protection. Think of it as the country realizing, we can't just build houses, we also need to make sure there's water and clean air. Logistics of aged care. Let's circle back to aging populations. Everyone talks about aged care nurses, but behind them are entire industries. Aged care facility managers, health administrators, and even recreational officers. Australia isn't just looking for medical staff. It also needs people to run, organize, and innovate in the care sector. So, roles connected to planning and managing aged care facilities could start popping up, because someone has to design activities, handle compliance, and keep the system running beyond just providing medicine. Construction and infrastructure. This one's a bit unpredictable. On one hand, Australia keeps building roads, rail, housing, and renewable energy projects. That means carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and engineers will continue to have their place. But the demand for these jobs will rise and fall with government budgets and housing markets. For example, if the government pumps billions into infrastructure, suddenly civil engineers are the stars. If the housing market slows down, demand might dip. So the future prediction here is that construction jobs will remain important, but they'll fluctuate. If you're in these trades, your spot on the list might sometimes feel like it's on a season pass ride at a theme park. Up one year, down the next, but never completely gone. Education and teaching, rising importance. Now, let's talk about teaching. It's no secret that Australia is short of teachers, especially in STEM subjects and in regional schools. Math teachers, science teachers, and special education specialists are basically unicorns at this point. Expect them to remain firmly on the list. Language teachers may also pop up, especially as Australia becomes more multicultural. Plus, with growing demand for vocational education and training, roles in trades teaching and training might also gain more recognition. So if you're someone who can teach, guide, and shape the next generation, the list will likely keep a door open for you. Occupations likely to fade. Now, let's talk about the awkward part, jobs that might fade away from the list in the future. With automation and AI, certain clerical and administrative roles will lose ground. Basic accounting, routine office support, and simple data entry won't be as attractive to immigration policy. Why? Because computers are doing more of that work, and Australia doesn't want to import skills that are being automated. Similarly, roles heavily reliant on old-school manufacturing may shrink. As industries modernize, the demand shifts towards advanced manufacturing and high-tech production rather than traditional factory work. To sum it all up, the future of Australia's occupation list is basically a giant balancing act. The government will keep tweaking it to match economic needs, global competition, and demographic changes. So, my prediction: expect the unexpected, but keep your skills sharp, your options open, and your eye on the long game.